Welcome to MINDSHOCK. This is your host, Bruce McGuire, and today we are dissecting the age-old question of the scariest horror movie ever. All time, what is the most terrifying film in the history of celluloid? We will be examining all this in typical MINDSHOCK fashion with logic and reason at the forefront. We will be using scientific metrics to determine this so it is not purely subjective, which many people believe it is. We are going to be looking for some cold, hard science in determining if there is one film that is scarier than others. As always, if you want to help support the MINDSHOCK podcast, help logic and reason return to a world where it is quickly going extinct, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share to Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Patreon. If you're not getting your updates through YouTube, you can become a free patron on Patreon as well. Get all the updates through there. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comment section, particularly if you think we left out a film or got something wrong. And you can also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Help support the channel that way. Okay, so before we jump into this, everybody drop in the chat what you believe. So this isn't necessarily your favorite horror film. Obviously, I have a lot of favorite movies that are actually quite terrible. There's a lot of horror movies that I really like that are not scary at all, but they are highly entertaining. Now, there's also other movies out there that are just absolutely terrifying and can traumatize you for life, like Sister Act 1. There's also Sister Act 2. Now, we would be looking at horror movies, and now obviously people would say, I mean, this is trauma for life. I mean, there might not be coming back from that. I mean, I don't know how many people have not been traumatized by Sister Act 1 or 2. I mean, these are just incredibly horrifying films, if they can be called that. So let's see what everybody's going on in the chat about. So, what are the favorites here? Let's see. Against the Dark, Lord Zed is bringing up the Steven Seagal classic, the modern cinematic masterpiece known as Against the Dark. Now, it would have probably gone down in the annals of history as the GOAT horror film if they hadn't completely botched this in editing. Because the difference between the original and what we got is quite substantial. But Lord Zed has thrown the Steven Seagal classic Against the Dark into the ring. Also, a movie I brought up is the perennial classic Teletubbies the movie. I mean, this can even give Steven Seagal a run for his money. I mean, this is some terrifying stuff that can truly traumatize it can truly, truly traumatize for life. So, how are we really going to dissect this? So, I will start scientifically dissecting all of this in a moment. We were also discussing Ringu 1998, of which there were supposedly real life suicides reported after watching this film. This has all been scrubbed from the internet, or is this some kind of Mandela effect? I do not know. I remember going through articles both from Japan and UK US referencing this. There was a lot of controversy over Ringu 1998. And I mean, obviously there was the remake. I think it was the 2001 remake, the U.S. remake, but the Japanese version. This was all over the media, and apparently, it's impossible to find anything about this now. So that was pretty wild stuff. And tragically, the actress in Ringu actually supposedly committed suicide in 2020. That's what was reported, and in the report, it's stated likely suicide, so I don't know if there was a final determination met. That was in 2020. And she was actually an award-winning actress. She won a lot of awards in the years after Ringu 98. But yeah, just really, really bizarre. Obviously, Poltergeist had a lot of conspiratorial problems and deaths with it, which I'll be getting into in a dedicated podcast. This is simply about the scariest movie ever, not the conspiracies or real life horror surrounding the movie. That's not what this particular podcast is about. I will be doing another one on that. So this is all about scientifically quantifying which film is the scariest, using as many objective metrics as possible, obviously subjective as well, but we are going to try to use as many objective metrics as possible. Clark in the chat says, I know it's kind of cheesy these days. Hey now, cheesy's awesome. But I have vivid memories of seeing Psycho as a kid on a black and white TV. When the skull is superimposed on Norman's face, I lost it. Okay, so this is one of the main things. This is one of the main things I'm going to go over here. Heracles, welcome. Heracles says, my guess is The Thing or Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm actually not a big The Thing fan. I mean, I know that movie gets a lot of love. I was not impressed. I've only seen it once, maybe when I was a little kid, close to the time. I don't even know what year that came out. I don't know, maybe I wasn't that little, but as a kid, I watched it at some point as a kid, maybe. I don't really remember it. Probably had older family members that were watching it. And then I watched it for the first time for real, actually paying attention to it maybe, I don't know, maybe 5-7 years back, something like that. I was not impressed. But yeah, Texas Chainsaw, definitely up there. One of my favorites. Seen that one a bunch of times. Okay, so here's one of the main problems. The Ant1747 says, The Shining to me is still the scariest, always filling me with dread and yet still fascinating. Yeah, that was another one I watched when I was pretty young, and yeah, that one, yes. Wow. Yeah, as a kid especially, if you watch that as a kid. As an adult, I don't know, but as a kid, yeah. And that's actually what I'm going to be getting into here. obviously this list, there's a lot of subjectivity here. We're going to attempt to scientifically quantify, but I don't know if it can be 100% scientifically quantified. We'll do our best. But watching the same movie as a kid versus as an adult is obviously going to have a different effect. Now, for some really jaded adults, they're not really scared by movies, although, again, anecdotal logical fallacy here, full disclosure. I have known people, like actual war veterans, emergency medical personnel, who have seen some real world horrors. And there are movies they were scared of. They were creeped out by ghost movies. So even though they've known real life horror that is far in excess of anything that could be portrayed on a screen, they still got scared by movies. So, and obviously everybody's different. There's plenty of people who have not seen any real life horror that are also not scared by any movies, which is again why this is all anecdotal logical fallacies. I was just pointing out the reality that what is terrifying for one would not necessarily be terrifying for another, and what is terrifying as a child, absolutely terrifying and traumatizing, wouldn't necessarily be so for an adult. Like, for example, Sister Act. Sister Act 1 and 2. If you watch that as a kid, I mean, I watched that close to the time it came out. It wasn't that terrifying, but watch it now. I mean, you can get scarred for life. Okay, so let's get into. Heracles said he was talking about the 82 version. Remake of the Invasion of the Body. Wait, 70. So, Body Snatchers. Was that 78? Was 78? No. Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. There was a 1955 novel, and then the 1956 film. The 78 remake is the Sutherland remake. I don't even remember that one. I vaguely remember the 56 film. I don't remember 78, and then they remade that again in 90. Was it 93? Yeah, and I vaguely remember the 93 one. For some reason, I don't remember the 78 one. I think the 78 one is the most well regarded. I thought the 93 one was pretty decent, but okay. Okay, so let's get into the metrics here. So now that we've kind of gone over the problems here with analyzing films that might be terrifying as a child versus an adult. Yeah, let's keep it to films here for this one. So, let's get into the metrics. I mean, this is what everybody's here for. The actual receipts. The actual receipts. Yeah, Les Xylophone, welcome. Another vote for The Thing. The Thing is getting some votes here. And just to reiterate, I was not impressed with that one. And like I said, I vaguely remember, I guess older family members might have been watching it in the background. I wasn't really paying attention, but it didn't really seem that terrifying. And I watched a lot of horror movies, both as a kid and as an adult. You know, it'd be interesting to come up to see if there were any studies done on people that study logic and liking horror movies versus other genres. I mean, horror and action were kind of what I probably watched the most. All those low budget action movies and high budget. I watched a lot more low budget than high budget though. But actually, same thing with horror. I've probably seen a lot more low budget horror movies than high budget. All right, so let's get into the metrics here. If anybody else has, okay, Truth Trollette says I went to The Thing at the theater. Yeah, I think watching it in a theater. Okay, yeah, that's the other thing we didn't really talk about. Yeah. Watching it in the theater is a completely different experience. Also, if you have a home theater set up in your own home and you're watching a movie, you know, you're all alone, If you have a generator or something, sometimes in a storm when the power's out, I'll watch some movies. And it's one you have insomnia, you can't sleep. It's 1 or 2 a.m. in the morning, and you're watching something terrifying, and all the lights are out in the entire countryside or city where you're watching it. Now that's a different experience than going to the theater. Then you have the theater experience where there's other people and when there's nobody. I watched Jeepers Creepers in the theater when it was completely empty. I remember I went to the last showing. It was probably, like, I don't know, one of those 1 a.m. showings. There wasn't anybody in there. That's a completely different experience than when there's people in there. So those are variables that nobody really talks about, because you can watch the same movie in a different setting and versus not a different setting. Also, drive-in theaters, if you're in a drive-in and there's almost nobody there, that's kind of weird in the middle of the night. So, yeah. Les Xylophone says, I like watching Friday the 13th while camping. Those movies were so fun, though. Like, I never really thought of them as that terrifying. They were just entertaining, even as a kid. Heracles says, the 78 version of Invasion was awesome. The alert they made was on Saturday. I'm gonna have to either watch it or rewatch it, because that's the only version I don't really remember. Because I remember the old 56 version a little bit, and then the 90s version a little bit. Not even that well. But the 78, I just don't have any recollection. Okay. So yeah, you have the age of when you watch something, and also the setting. So alone at your house at night, with or without a generator, so there's no light pollution outside, there's no neighbors' lights, nothing. Or a movie theater with nobody in it in the middle of the night versus the middle of the afternoon. I mean, these are all different factors that can affect this. But let's get to the actual metrics. If nobody has any further movies they'd like to add into the conversation, if you do at any time, drop them in the chat at any time. We'll address them. There's no order here. So, the first thing we're going to do is address give me 1 second here. I did a whole bunch of different metrics here. Okay. So, of all places, Money Supermarket decided to embark on a scientific study of the science of scare. The scariest movies of all time. Whether it's zombies, ghosts, or anything else that goes bump in the night, is there anything better than a good horror movie? But of the hundreds of horror flicks, there's actually thousands, if not tens of thousands. Which takes the crown for Fright Night? The Science of Scare Project. Is there anything better than a truly terrifying movie? One that gets your heart pounding, makes you jump out of your seat, or sleep with the lights on? We don't think so, but with streaming services giving us an endless supply of horror films at our fingertips. It can be hard to know which can give you a true Fright Night and which are child's play. See what they did there? That's why in 2020 we founded the Science of Scare Project, an experiment to categorically find the scariest movies in existence based on what gets hearts pumping and pulses racing. Now it's in fourth year. The Science of Scare is back and bigger than ever, tracking the scariest movies ever made at its new home at Money Supermarket Broadband. What an interesting website. Okay. So, further explanation of this study here. How to measure the scariest movies. Each year, the Science of Scare Project curates a list of the most terrifying English language films, and so Ringu won't be on it, and puts them to our 250 strong panel. Yeah, it's a shame they don't do international or foreign films, because a lot of the Japanese horror, Indonesian horror kind of had a little bit of a renaissance the past decade or so, and South Korean as well. Our test subjects are invited to special screenings of our movies where they are fitted with heart rate monitors and their heart rate is tracked throughout each movie. To prevent audience fatigue, screenings take place over the course of several weeks throughout the year, but we publish our results in October just in time for Halloween. Here's another thing, too. Are they in the theater with all these people? They should have the person in the theater by themselves. And it should be a theater in the middle of nowhere. That might have an effect on these readings. Like someone's blindfolded, driven into the middle of nowhere where there's just the theater in the middle of nowhere. Then they're locked in the theater with all the metrics, and then they can't get out, and they have to sit there and watch them. In previous years, we would measure the average impact our shortlisted movies had on the heart rates, measured in BPM, of our subjects compared to the average resting BPM of the total sample size, 64. However, in 2023, we developed a more detailed way of measuring with the creation of the Science of Scare score. One of the main pieces of feedback from horror aficionados and communities like Reddit Horror in last year's study was that only using one psychological factor, heart rate, meant that the study favored heavy jump scare based movies rather than slow burn horror films. So in 2023, we introduced the Science of Scare score, a combination of multiple factors to rank the scariest movies. The Scare Score system, which combines both heart rate measured in beats per minute and heart rate variance measured in milliseconds, returns for 2024. With heart rate, BPM, the higher the number, the faster the movie got our audience's blood pumping, an indicator of excitement and fear as part of your fight or flight instinct. On the other hand, heart rate variance, HRV, measures the time in between each beat of your heart. The lower the heart rate variance, the more stressed our audience members became, a good indicator of slow burn fear and dread. After collecting the average heart rate increase and HRV decrease, we then combine both scores to create a Science of Scare score out of 100. For comparison, Shrek holds a scare score of 3 out of 100. All right. Any questions, or are you guys ready for the big reveal list they have here? Lord Zed talking about Bigfoot in the chat. Truth Trollette says, I have the perfect place to watch Blair Witch, in the woods. Les Xylophone says Final Destination also changed the way I live my life. I have another. If you haven't checked out the Final Destination franchise series here on MindShock, I did episode 1. There will be follow up episodes as well. Les Xylophone says Strangers was very scary. I thought it was aight. Not too impressed. Okay. So I found the reason I give this study credence is because, well, let's reveal the list. Drum roll, please. And here is the list. So this is the reveal here of the top 20. Let's do... I'm gonna go from 20. So 20 is Oddity 2024. Never heard of it. No, I think it's some kind of found. It's like a Zoom meeting, and it scored 69. And the metrics here are the Science of Scare score, the average BPM, and actually, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let's do... Oh, I messed up here. So this is my modified metric. I'm going out of order here. So I did not just use the Science of Scare. Give me a second here. Okay. Let's go through their rankings first. And then I'll go through my modified rankings with more weight given to other metrics. We're going one step at a time here. Okay, so this is their 2024. Also, who are the audience members? Because obviously, if you're going like younger teenagers versus older people, I mean, there's a lot of problems with the system, which is why I modified it. But this is our base, which is the most scientific base presented thus far that I've seen anyway. Just give me a second to handle this YouTube lag getting kind of crazy here for some reason. One second. So again, depending on who the audience members were, you know, this list is highly dependent on that. Okay. Let's get this on the screen. Okay. So here is the science of scare metrics only before my modified system. So here's what we got. So this is their system. So average resting heart rate, average movie heart rate, highest spike, overall difference in BPM, percent difference in heart rate variation, which determines the scare score. Okay, who's ready? So number one is Sinister, which the reason I gave this list credence is because that was actually my pick. If you guys remember, in a few different podcasts, I actually have picked Sinister. I've picked Sinister numerous times. And again, this is a movie I watched in the middle of the night. It might have been one of those where the storm knocked everybody else powered out. But yeah, Sinister has always been my pick for number one since I had seen it. So once, this did not surprise me one bit. So this had the highest spike, 131. Overall difference of BPM 22, HRV difference 21. Scare score 96. It barely beat out Host, which I have not seen. Have you seen, who here has seen Sinister before talking trash? Lord Zed says Exorcist wasn't even scary. That xylophone said, wait, which movie was that? Strangers killed you? You know what? Maybe that was one. No, I'm sure I watched that at night, but it might have not been in the middle of the night with everybody else having their power out, though. Heracles says, does it say if they use the same people for every movie, or is it random people or different people? That's a good question. Did it say it was like 250 people for each one? That would be curious. They said they spread it out to prevent fatigue. I would assume that would mean the same people, right? Because if there were different people, there wouldn't be any need to prevent fatigue. So it must be the same 250. But I would like a breakdown of the demographic of that 250. But anyway, here we have The Host. You haven't seen it. Skinamarink. That one got a lot of attention. Haven't seen it. Sidious is interesting. And Insidious. Insidious, I thought it was alright. I thought it was nowhere near as good as Sinister. I thought it was, definitely above average. It had some unexpected... Yeah, like the appearance of the demon was kind of weird. Let's put it that way. Yeah, I mean, the top few movies, like Host is very close. There's also recency bias on Host, I guess, but is it a younger crowd? But the other thing that's kind of weird for newer movies, you have a lot more of a desensitized and jaded audience, even if they're younger. So it is kind of weird for newer movies to score high, unless they're really young. Yeah, I thought Insidious was above average. I can't speak. Has anybody here seen Host or Skinamarink? 5, The Conjuring. The Conjuring I thought was a good movie, but I didn't think it was that scary or creepy, but I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was better than Insidious. Yeah, maybe equal. Now, Hereditary was one of the better recent movies. I would put that up there. Based on what I've seen here, I would probably put that at number 2. That was definitely one of the creepiest. I might have to watch that again. I've only seen it once. Smile I have not seen. That looked really not good. It kind of looked hokey. Exorcism of Emily Rose I have not seen, but a lot of people have said positive things about it. Talk to Me, no clue what that is. Hell House LLC, no clue. The Conjuring 2, don't really remember it. I don't believe I liked it anywhere near as much as the first. It Follows we've talked about. It Follows has a pretty creepy vibe. I don't know why it would have spiked your heart rate per se, but it was definitely a creepy movie. Which one is fairly good, Truth Trollette? The Dark and the Wicked, never heard of that. Haven't even heard of that. Cool name, though. Let's see what Dark and the Wicked is all about. 2020. There seems to be some recency bias here. Well, this actually looks fairly good. On a secluded farm in a nondescript rural town, a man is slowly dying. His family gathers to mourn, and soon a darkness grows, marked by waking nightmares and a growing sense that something evil is taking over the family. Interesting. Described as unnerving in reviews. The Dark and the Wicked. Might have to check that out. The Descent. I don't know if I've seen that, but I remember when that came out, a lot of people were raving about it. Okay, Paranormal Activity. That's an interesting one. That's probably one of the only found footage films that I thought was kind of, well, not found footage. It's not really, I guess it's sort of found footage. It's security footage. And yeah, that one is interesting. It's definitely creepy. I don't know if I want to do spoilers for this one, so no spoilers here, but the ending, unnerving is a good word for that one as well. The Babadook. Now I have to ask, did I see that? It's definitely on a list. I was definitely going to see it. Now, did I actually see it? No. I guess it doesn't look like I did. Yeah, maybe I did not. Yeah, I don't... Oh, actually... Tantrums, actually, I might have. But I don't remember it too well, so it couldn't have been that good. Yeah, I don't think I was that impressed. I probably saw it around the time it came out. Quiet Place Part 2 scored higher than Part 1. I haven't seen either one of those films. I was gonna watch it. And okay, Autopsy of Jane Doe, another one that was highly praised at the time of release. I don't know if I'd call the original Evil Dead scary. It was creepy. It was definitely creepy. Had that vibe. Evil Dead 2 and 3 not so much, but the first one definitely had a vibe about it. But I probably saw that. I don't remember when I saw that. Not the 80s. I would have seen that maybe in the 90s at some point. Probably. I wonder if I saw it on VHS or DVD by that time. I hadn't watched. I don't know if I had seen that many horror movies by the late 90s. I started watching them a lot more. Truth Trollette says the Emily Rose one. Yeah, that was very well reviewed. So was Autopsy of Jane Doe. Insidious 2, I don't remember being as good, but I don't particularly remember that one. Oddity, no clue. The Ring, this is the American version, pretty creepy. Terrifier 2 and 3, those movies are gutter trash. I just saw like TV spots for them, or whatever, YouTube like the super short commercials. They look like complete trash. No artistic integrity, just complete schlock. Stop motion, never heard of it. A Quiet Place. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 74. There we go. Finally, a classic on the list. Nightmare on Elm Street 84? That's kind of weird. This is kind of weird, because if this was done in 2023, or just 2024, actually, how would anybody be scared of Nightmare on Elm today? Or even Halloween, the 78? I mean, they're good, and if you look at them at the time they were released, they were pretty creepy and scary, but... Insidious the Red Door, not sure. Is that Insidious 3 or 4? I actually think I saw 3 and 4. Is the Red Door 5? Obviously, I watch way too many movies. Yeah, Red Door is 5. I did not see Red Door. Interesting. Anybody seen Red Door? Is that good? Was not impressed with 4 was The Last Key. That was pretty crappy. I mean, the setup I remember was okay, but... Alright, Hush. Have not seen that one. That was pretty well reviewed, I think, as well. The Nun 2? Seriously? Not The Nun 1, but The Nun 2? The Visit. Haven't seen that one. It 2017. Have not seen that one. How is It 2017 favored over the original? That's a little weird. I mean, I haven't seen it, so maybe it's good. But the CG just makes it look dumb. I don't know. Les Xylophone says, watch Halloween Alone in the Dark, and I'll bet you go make sure your door and windows are locked. Nah. I've seen them. I mean, the Friday the 13th ones are probably... I mean, even though they're more entertaining... I mean, I don't know. I don't think... Those series are entertaining. I wouldn't say they're scary. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. I have not seen that one. Alright, to round out the list here, Blair Witch. I also have not seen that. Probably one of the only people who have not seen that. Paranormal Activity 2, have not seen that. I think I actually started watching it. And I couldn't, I just made it the first, like, 5 minutes, and then I was done with that. Evil Dead Rise. Don't think I've seen that one. Immaculate. Have not seen that one. You know what should be on here that's not? One of the creepiest alien movies. Oh, Immaculate is new, 2024, with Sydney Sweeney. Yeah, for some reason I'm doubtful that this is going to be scary. But who knows? Who knows? Anybody here seen Immaculate? Immaculate. It's a good name. It's a good name. I don't know, I'm just, I don't know, I'm skeptical. Skeptical. Who saw Dark Skies? That was actually really creepy when it came out. I was not a young child when Dark Skies came out, and it was quite unsettling. I mean, this was before, you know, Flat Earth Theory threw everything out of whack. Dark Skies was 2013. Kerry Russell is in it. I mean, this is one creepy movie. I mean, it's just so unsettling. I might actually have to pick it for my favorite alien movie. Lord Zed says, I saw Dark Skies pretty good. Yeah, I mean, I would put, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I might have to put out of modern horror movies. If we're doing modern horror, I would do Sinister #1. I actually agreed with something on the internet. It's kind of shocking. Okay. I would put Sinister at #1, and then I would put what did I say I'd put? Oh, Hereditary. Yeah, this is tough. I'd put Sinister. I'd put Dark Skies above Hereditary, actually. I'd go Sinister, Hereditary, Dark Skies. I don't know where I would put Paranormal Activity. Maybe Paranormal Activity and Insidious 1. Yeah, maybe somewhere around there. If we're doing modern only. Lights Out, haven't seen. That looked kind of boring. Long Legs, haven't seen. Is Long Legs... What is Long Legs? That sounds familiar. An occultist serial killer. Wow. Wow. It's actually very well reviewed. Quite a few. I just looked it up. The most disturbing horror film ever from long-time horror reviewers. On Reddit, a lot of people talking trash about it. Has anybody here seen Long Legs? Anybody here seen Long Legs? Then we got Saw X. Haven't seen that one. I stopped the first. Actually, Saw was pretty good, but I remember Saw 1 thinking it was a good movie, but it wasn't really that scary, but it was pretty well done. Yeah, suspenseful, but not scary. And then I think I saw 2 and 3. I don't know if I probably stopped somewhere around 4. Then we got 28 Days Later. Yeah, that wasn't scary at all. It was fun. I don't think I've seen 28 Weeks Later, and then now 28 Years Later is coming out, so I'm going to probably have to do a rewatch of all of them. The Grudge 1? Really? The American version? Is that Sarah Michelle Gellar? On the Grudge 1? That wasn't scary at all. I mean, I don't remember thinking it was terrible. But, yeah. I mean, maybe I should rewatch it. But no, I don't remember. It was entertaining, mildly. Oculus haven't seen. First Omen have not seen. Ouija, Origin of Evil. Yeah, supposedly that one's really good, but I have not seen it. Annie Boat 99, welcome. Longlegs is Nick Cage at his best, completely. Lord Zed, how have you not seen this movie? This is Nick Cage. Completely over the top. It's mediocre without. Okay, I didn't even know Nick Cage was in it, so now I'm putting it on my list. Les Allophone, where is the Sixth Sense on this list? Man, that wasn't scary. Dramatic, not quite scary. Late Night with the Devil, haven't seen. And then Scream, really? Scream? I mean, highly entertaining, but scary? Flat Bob, welcome. Scary movies I've seen might be kind of lame because I don't really watch them very much, but Hostel, Saw, Texas Chainsaw, and I can't think of any more off the top of my list. Yeah, so Hostel was pretty awesome. I don't know if I'd call it scary. It's one of my that's another one where it's one of my favorite horror movies. Don't know if I'd call it scary. Just definitely one I like to watch, but Les Xylophone says Gremlins. All right, so this is the pure science of scare list. So what I did in an attempt to make these metrics more accurate. So here's my metrics where I had AI analyze the Rotten Tomatoes score from critics, the IMDb rating as well, and the amount of jump scares as a factor, and utilizing the science of scare total score as well as the average BPM. Sinister still wins. So we have here Sinister still wins. Actually, I wonder how much was the list identical? Let me see. Actually, the list might still be identical. That'd be crazy. Oh, wow. The list is actually identical. Even factoring in... That's very interesting. Wicked. Okay, 15... Okay, interesting. So it's still the same. Okay. I actually broke down the metrics even further in a moment. But so this is utilizing all of this. Now, what I did next. So this is how, let's just go through the metrics here. So there isn't a single universally accepted scariest horror movie ever because it depends on how you measure fear. So through physiological heart rate data, it is Sinister. I concur with that. So 250 viewers were wired to heart rate monitors. Sinister raised pulse rates 34% on average and spiked at 131 BPM, earning a record scare score of 96 out of 100. Oh, here's the other thing. VHS was another found footage. I don't really like found footage, but yeah, we got to put a Cannibal Holocaust up there as well, 1980. Yeah, that was like the first found footage, I think, Cannibal Holocaust. Supposedly they killed, I think I went over this on one live Q&A. Supposedly they actually killed native people, and Ruggiero, the director, he actually was put on trial. Ruggiero Deodato, he was put on trial in Italy. and they flew in natives to try to prove they didn't kill him, but they looked different. They looked like they were different natives. Supposedly some guy got his leg eaten by a piranha for real, and they cut the scene, but there's like an actual photo, like there's like a behind the scenes photo. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff with the Cannibal Holocaust movie. Supposedly, like, some of the special effects were too good and they couldn't actually replicate them in court, like people being impaled and stuff. They also apparently paid ambulance drivers to bring dead bodies from car wrecks to the scene so they could film them for certain special effects where they pull out organs and stuff. So I have not watched the scenes since I found that out, and I won't, because that's not what I want to watch. I saw the movie once before I had all that information. I saw it at some point in the 90s before I found all that stuff out. I don't even know if I had watched the cut or uncut version. They also live gut animal. They gut live animals, which is pretty disturbing. Clark says, "Don't forget Faces of Death." I remember it was kind of half banned at my local video shop. What back in that? What does half banned means? Wait, what does that mean? It was half banned. What does that mean? You gotta, like, ask for it? Because it's not out there? Flat Bob says, "Shazam, the one where Shaq plays a genie. That one is truly horrifying." Oh, man. Les Xylophone says, "Human Centipede." Vlad B says, "Hostel 1 is a classic. The rest that followed was a travesty, especially the one in Las Vegas." Yeah, I don't think I've even seen the rest. Yeah, Hostel 1 is excellent. One of the best modern horrors. I don't know if I'd say it was scary, though. It's just a really well-made modern horror film. Yeah, I might have to watch it again. I haven't seen it in a little bit. So, okay. Truth Trollette says, "I saw it once and only once. Won't again." Are you talking about Faces of Death? Yeah, I think most of them are fake, though. So I think there might have, because I had a few friends that were into that. I never really watched it. Not interested. Didn't want to, that was back in the days before, or shortly before the internet was getting really popular. And then you had all those weird websites with gore and all that. Oh, Truth Trollette says you saw Cannibal Holocaust. Yeah. Well, I only watched it because I thought it was all fake. And I remember being really weirded out by the animal torture, because I don't like that at all. Les Xylophone says, "Tom Green's Freddy Got Fingered." Oh, wow. Clark Rice says, "Yeah, you had to ask for it. And the guy behind the counter would do some kind of look over to judge if you could handle or not. That you could handle it or not. He never did that with porn, though." Did he look like comic book guy from The Simpsons? That's what your story reminds me of. Clark says, "Remember the behind the curtain section." I never went back there. True Trollette says, "Faces of Death I saw was before the internet. It was VHS." Well, the internet's been around since the 80s. But, yeah, before the popularity of the internet. Because I remember people actually uploaded Faces of Death on, what was it? Whatever came after Napster. Was it Lime something? Something Lime. There was also Emule, which was kind of popular in Europe, but then people in the US were using it as well. Truth Trollette says, "I had a friend whose parents owned a small VHS store." That's cool. Truth Trollette says, "LimeWire." Yeah. A lot of weird stuff on the internet, of course. So anyway, then we have popular vote was The Exorcist, 1973, from Rotten Tomatoes. It polled 19% of all votes from thousands of users. By the way, I think Cannibal Holocaust holds the record for most banned film. I think it was banned in over 80 countries or something. Throughout the 80s. I think that was part of the appeal, but you didn't really know why it was banned per se, just that it was too gory, because there was a lot of movies that were banned that were all fake gore. Then Critical Consensus is a three-way race between Hereditary 2018, The Shining 1980, and The Exorcist 1973. These films appear most often at or near the top of greatest horror roundups for their sustained dread, craft, and cultural impact. So, okay, let's look at some more metrics here before I go with an even more fine-tuned tuned metric here. And these are just some obvious points here. What scares you is personal found footage jump scare machines. Host Paranormal Activity obliterates some viewers, while Slow Burn Dread, The Wailing, The Shining, unsettles others more deeply. Age and exposure matter. If you grew up after The Exorcist, you may find its 1970s pacing tame compared to something like Hereditary. Viewing context changes fear, and this is a good point I brought up before. A packed midnight screening, IMAX sound, or simply watching alone at 2 a.m. on headphones will amplify or deaden a movie's effect. So obviously there's sub-classifications. I won't go into this too much, but jump scares, demonic imagery, you got sinister, insidious host, slow existential dread, The Shining, Skinamarink, It Follows, Relentless Gore, Terrifier 2, Martyrs, Inside, 2007. Yeah, Martyrs and Inside, okay, those might not be American. Are they French? Is Martyrs and Inside French? Martyrs, I believe, is French. That one is at the top of a lot of lists. I haven't seen it. But see, disturbing and scary are also two different things. So that's, you know, we're kind of splitting hairs here maybe, but religious or possession themes, Exorcist, Hereditary, Exorcism of Emily Rose, found footage, realism, Lake Mungo, Wreck, The Blair Witch Project. So I actually haven't seen any of those. Supposedly Wreck is pretty good. Has anybody seen Wreck? How does that stack up to Blair Witch? Clark says, cultural impact, Rosemary's Baby. Yeah, that one's pretty creepy. The Exorcist, Amityville Horror. Yeah, Amityville is pretty creepy too. Psycho, especially that it's based on a true story. That gives us extra level there. I remember as a kid the cultural buzz about them. Yeah. You know what's kind of an underrated horror? Hide and Seek with Robert De Niro. And is that Dakota Fanning? Hide and Seek. I forget. I don't remember. I remember that one was pretty creepy. Clark says the films that launched the Satanic Panic. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. Has anybody seen Wreck? How does that stack up to Blair Witch? Is that like the French zombie one? If I remember correctly, I have not seen it. Okay. So next, let's do... Alright, give me a second to subdivide this. Alright, I did two more breakdowns here. Well, first let's look at a pie chart here. So this is by decade science of scare. This is kind of interesting. So the 2000s only 15%, 2020s 35%, 2010s 50%. So it's kind of interesting. Even with recency bias, 50% of the scariest films utilizing the science of scare score, they're actually from the 2010s more so than the 2020s. So that's interesting. 2000s not so much, but I also don't think they screened that many from the 2000s. They didn't screen that many older ones, which I'll get into in a moment. Let's look at another breakdown here. Pie style. So we have Sinister and Host dominating here. But yeah, I can't believe that many people haven't seen Sinister here. I mean, it is definitely my pick for the best modern horror movie. Scariest, rather. Scariest. Like, it's way scarier than Hostel. Hostel's really cool, though. Alright. So, yeah, I mean, Paranormal Activity was kind of creepy, too. That was one of the only I don't like found footage. I don't know why, but... Clark Ray says, Phantasm 1. Wow, blast from the past. Clark says, original Candyman freaked me out. Okay, I wouldn't call that modern. That was like early 90s. Yes, Candyman 1 in particular. That had such a creepy vibe. Yes, I totally forgot about that movie. Nice call, Clark Rice. Candyman 1 definitely had that vibe. Like, you don't get that vibe anymore. Yeah, there was just something about it, that kind of urban... That might be my pick for the best urban horror. Although some people would say Leprechaun in the Hood. But I would say Candyman 1. Flat Bob says, I think the reason more recent horror films rank less scary than older ones is because real life today is much more scary than movies. Well, also the movies are just a lot more poorly made nowadays. I mean, what movie has the vibe of Candyman 1, for example? You know? What did I watch recently? I watched some slashers. I brought it up on the Final Destination podcast. But yeah, nothing truly great. Nothing with that vibe. Yeah, Candyman 1's pretty legendary. Pretty legendary. I'd be yeah, it's kind of weird that doesn't get brought up as much. I don't know how it would fare in the BPM, you know, the heart rate and all that. But the vibe, I mean, wow. Yeah, that was one of the first movies I think I actually watched when the DVD format came out. Yeah, I got that as soon as that came out on DVD. I don't think I've revisited it since, though. I think, yeah. Truth Roulette says Todd made that movie. In my opinion, without him, I don't think it would be as good. I mean, the filmmaking was really good. The acting was pretty solid from everybody. The music was outstanding. The cinematography and editing and pacing, all of that, everything was on point. I mean, yeah, if the guy was terrible, it wouldn't have worked as well. But I think there's other actors there as competent as him. I actually wasn't blown away by his performance in any way, but it was good. It was good, just like everybody was in that movie. Catch you next time, Les Xylophone. All right, so that was that breakdown. Now let's do... Okay, so let's break the metrics down even more. So let's go... Let's do this. So this is utilizing... This was my modified True Terror ranking. So this is going to utilize 50% weight on the physiological impact science and scare score, 30% to critical acclaim Rotten Tomatoes, and 20% to audience verdict on IMDb. So according to this modified ranking, Host actually outscores both The Conjuring, Hereditary, and Sinister. I might have to check out Talk to Me. Let's see, Talk to Me. What is this? A group of friends discover how to conjure spirits using an embalmed hand? I don't know. Wait, Lord Zed, was it you who was talking about those freaky movies? I totally forgot what they're called again. I just can't remember them for the life of me. Is it those two? Yeah, those two guys who made a number of these super weird movies. I have them written down from I think the Final Destination episode. What was it? I don't know if I remember them being that scary, but the vibe of those were pretty creepy. Lord Zed, what were they? But here we have with this modified True Terror Index. Host is number 1, then The Conjuring, then Hereditary, then Sinister. Talk to Me. It follows The Babadook, Insidious, Skinamarink, Quiet Place 2, The Descent. Maybe I do have to check out The Descent. The Hell House LLC, The Dark and the Wicked, Smile, Conjuring 2, Oddity, Autopsy of Jane Doe, Paranormal Activity, Exorcism of Emily Rose, Insidious Chapter 2. So, now let's modify it even further. So now let's do lingering distress or trauma. So this is the trauma-enhanced True Terror, which doesn't change the rankings too much. So this is 40% to the Science of Scarce score, 25% to critics, 15% to audience, and 20% based on lingering distress. So that's, I don't know how, I think it just measured that in terms of reviews, specifically as a result of trauma or lingering distress, in which case, host number one, Conjuring, Sinister, Skinamarink, Insidious, Hereditary drops a little bit. Talk to Me, It Follows, Smile, Hell House LLC, The Babadook, Dark and the Wicked, The Descent, A Quiet Place 2, Conjuring 2, Paranormal Activity, Oddity, Autopsy of Jane Doe, and Exorcism of Emily Rose, and Insidious Chapter 2. So it changed the rankings slightly. Not a ton, but a little bit. So for the trauma score, lingering distress. Okay, now let's take it even further because this is MINDSHOCK. So let's look at a consensus. So here are 20. I looked at 20 film websites and all of their rankings. So basically, oh, that's a big image. Okay, so we're looking at here across 20 websites, top 20 lists. Exorcist was number 1. The Shining number 2. Psycho number 3. So these are kind of like, some would call them snobby film websites. So here they're favoring the older ones, obviously. So we got Exorcist, Shining, Psycho, Texas Chainsaw, 74. Alien, 1979. Even though I wouldn't call that scary, that's kind of sci-fi. But, I mean, it did have a cool vibe. Hereditary, Halloween. Get Out, 2017. Interesting. I don't know if I'd call that scary either, but pretty well made. Jaws, 1975. The Thing, 1982. Sinister, 2012. Look at that. Sinister just won't go away no matter how many metrics we switch up. The Conjuring, 2013. Nightmare on Elm, 1984. The Ring, 2002. It Follows. The Babadook. The Descent. Insidious. Blair Witch. And Saw, 2004. Interesting. Okay, who's ready to dissect this even further? Truth Trollette says Resolution. Yeah, that was it. Where did Lord Zed go? Because Lord Zed mentioned a few other movies that. It was actually kind of creepy. Okay, Truth Trollette says, Bruce, the movies you were asking Zed about, The Endless, Spring, and Resolution. Yeah. Resolution is the only one of those I saw, but yeah, that's creep factor. Definitely. I got to check out the other ones. But it was weird because Zed mentioned them before. Like, the timing on that was, the synchronicity there was wild. You guys got to check out the Final Destination episode and check the live chat for that. All right, let's break down the metrics here even further. So, okay, by the way, so for this latest one, the consensus scariest of all time, this was frequency across 20 website polls. So this was top 20 lists from 20 separate outlets: Rotten Tomatoes, Time Out, IGN, Empire, Esquire, Thrillist, Collider, Paste, Guardian, Bloody Disgusting, Den of Geek, Ranker, Screen Rant, Games Radar, Entertainment Weekly, AFI, Sci-Fi, Business Outsider, Far Out Magazine, and USA Today. So this was the highest mention count. All right, so a score of 8 means 40% of the websites included it. Okay, so now let's move to an even more dissected metric here. So this is, it's kind of crazy that Hereditary outscores Sinister here. So this is an integrated ranking. So the explanation here So this is consensus frequency. So 0 to 100 from appearance in 20 site polls. 2, the Science of Scare heart rate score, proxy 70 if not lab tested, because some of these older movies were not tested in Science of Scare. The audience critic average, so IMDb times 10 plus Rotten Tomatoes percentage divided by 2, and the arithmetic mean of the 3 composite score. So films never lab tested for heart rate were assigned a neutral 70. So a future study measuring classics like The Exorcist or Psycho could shift the rankings. So here we have Exorcist at number 1. So once again, this is 33% weighted for both consensus frequency and Science of Scare and audience critic average. So The Exorcist scored the highest, then Psycho, then The Shining, then Alien, then Hereditary, then Texas Chainsaw, then Halloween, then Get Out, then Jaws, The Conjuring, Sinister, The Thing, Nightmare on Elm, It Follows, Babadook, Insidious, The Descent, The Ring, Blair Witch, and Saw. Yes, slightly different than just the consensus, so we weighted it. So, this is utilizing every metric I can think of. And so this is perhaps the most scientific analysis trying to combine subjectivity with objectivity using the Science of Scare score. I would still put Sinister. I mean, I guess the poll and the critic average, it might be skewing in favor of the older classics slightly. True Trollette says, I watched all of them because of Lord Zed. Yeah, I have a little bit less free time nowadays than back when I watched a lot of movies, but I do have to get to them. Were they good? No spoilers? Where is Lord Zed? Lord Zed walked out? Lord Zed, where are you? He disappeared as soon as he said Dark Skies was pretty good. Uh-oh. What happened to Lord Zed? The mystery begins. Flat Bob says Requiem for a Dream. That actually was pretty disturbing, yeah. Truth Trollette says, I like them. They are trippy. Makes you think, too. Yeah, I don't even know if I would say I liked it. It was highly disturbing, though. I mean, effective filmmaking, I could say that. Effective. All right, so this is the most scientific approach integrating subjectivity that I could think of. And they're pretty close. Like, a lot of these scores are pretty close here. I mean, it also obviously, by factoring in the polls and the critic scores, and all the scores, the IMDb scores, it obviously adds context for people who saw these at the time that they saw them, which is why some of these old school movies are rated higher. But yeah, Sinister is just on every, no matter how you slice it, Sinister is on all these lists. Alright, so now here's the bonus time. I did the same thing for the most obscure horror movies, which I thought was really interesting. So, in the world of the obscure, so I thought this would be fun because a lot of people haven't seen these. So for people that are in the horror, that like the horror genre, so this is the same thing, 20 website polls, consensus frequency, Lake Mungo, 2008, haven't seen it. Noroi, The Curse, 2005, haven't seen it. Terrified, 2017, haven't seen it. Session 9 is not obscure. So I don't know why this is on the list. 2001. That's an interesting one. The Taking of Deborah Logan. I remember when that came out. That had a little bit of hoopla. Like Emily Rose. Haven't seen either one of those though. Yeah, I generally don't like possession movies. Lord Zed says The Endless is my favorite ever and most scared I've been. Yeah, I wonder why they never made. Oh, Resolution actually is on this list. Resolution 2012. Interesting. Wow, that's cool. I didn't even realize. Okay. So, yeah, then we have Taking of Deborah Logan 2014, Hell House LLC 2015, which actually made the other lists as well. Pontypool 2008. That had some hoopla, but I haven't seen it. Borderlands 2013, Creep 2014, Autopsy of Jane Doe 2016. I don't think that one is that obscure. Gonjiam Haunted Asylum. Haven't seen it. Pulse 2001. I've seen the American remake, but have not seen the Japanese version. Tigers Are Not Afraid 2017. Resolution 2012. The Invitation 2015. As Above, So Below 2014. House of the Devil 2009. The Void 2016. The Eyes of My Mother 2016. We Are Still Here 2015. Wow, this is interesting. I don't think I've seen. Oh, other than Session 9, I don't think I've seen a. Did I see Creep? Creep kind of sounds familiar. I don't think I've seen. Oh, and Resolution. Other than those movies, I don't think I've seen anything on this list. Annie Boat says, exactly, The Exorcist is the GOAT for me. Saw it in real time when it came out in the theaters in my early 20s. Slept with the light on for 3 weeks. Saw it again last year, much less effect. Yeah, I mean, that's why I added those metrics, because you have to factor that in. So, okay. Now, the final metric analysis for the obscure is integrating. We're going to integrate. So it's going to be 30% the consensus, 30%, or 33 rather, 33.33 for IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. So it affects the list a little bit. So now, the integrated score, Lake Mungo, still number one, but now we have Terrified 2017. Let me look at this movie, Terrified. Maybe I might have to check this out. Why is it so well reviewed? Could it possibly be better than Resolution? Terrified is interesting. When strange events occur in a neighborhood in Buenos Aires, a doctor specializing in the paranormal, her colleague, and an ex-police officer decide to investigate further. So is this some kind of like Conjuring or Insidious knockoff? From 2018. Oh, it's Argentina. It's an Argentinian film. Interesting. Pretty well reviewed. Clark says that list is pretty close to what I would come up with. Wait, which one? Are you behind? Are you talking about the old school list or the obscure list we're looking at right now? So that's Terrified 2017. Noroi the Curse, Taking of Deborah Logan, Hell House LLC, Pontypool, Creep, Tigers Are Not Afraid, Gonjiam Haunted Asylum, Autopsy of Jane Doe, Session 9, Borderlands, The Invitation, Pulse, Resolution, House of the Devil, 2009. That one was pretty well reviewed too. Haven't seen it. We Are Still Here, Eyes of My Mother, The Void, As Above, So Below, 2014. When a team of explorers venture into the catacombs that lie beneath the streets of Paris, they uncover the dark secret that lies within the city of the dead. That is As Above, So Below. I might have to check that out as well. That looks kind of interesting. Supposedly, there's a real tape that was found of somebody that went into the catacombs, like missing people. There's a lot of missing people that went to explore the catacombs. So, yeah, I might actually have to check this movie out. Alright, stop talking about food in the chat, and we're going to round this out. This is the most objective scientific list I could come up with. If anybody has any other ideas or variations. So the final list of the every combined metric I could think of is this one right here. Now, maybe the weights can be adjusted here, but maybe the weights can be adjusted. And obviously, this doesn't factor foreign films, which is also an issue. So I don't know if I should do a separate analysis just on foreign films or to include them in all of this as well. But Exorcist wins, then Psycho, Shining, Alien, Hereditary, Texas Chainsaw, Halloween 78, Get Out. Sinister was way crazier than Get Out. I mean, I don't know. I would put Sinister. I think I still might put. It's kind of tough. Across all years, would I still put Sinister at number one? Oh, it's tough. I would say Resolution was definitely one of the most unnerving films I've ever seen. To the point where I don't think I would ever watch it again. I mean, Cannibal Holocaust was just plain disgusting. That's why I would never watch that again. I mean, I still kind of like the message of it, though. That the so-called civilized people were much more savage than the savages. Did I just spoil that movie? Not really, but... So, anyway, that's it for today. Hope everybody enjoyed a logical analysis of the scariest horror movie ever. And if like I said, if anybody has any disputes on any of this, leave it in the comment section. I'll probably do a follow-up on this at some point with if I modify the metric systems. Clark says, think of how scared Zed is walking home right now in the dark. Wow, yeah, that's pretty creepy. Is that why he's not responding too much? He's looking over his shoulder? And he says, I haven't seen most of these. I guess I have to get busy. I would also like to give Wait Until Dark honorable mention. Not horror, but fear, suspense. Alan Arkin, incredible. Audrey Hepburn. Let me see this one. That was 67. Have I not seen this? Huh. Have not seen it. A recently blinded woman is terrorized by a trio of thugs while they search for a heroin stuffed doll they believe in her apartment. Interesting. 67. I don't think I've even heard that one mentioned on most lists. But interesting. Clark Rice said Midsommar freaked me out. Yeah, it didn't freak me out at all. I was not a fan of Midsommar. I thought the color scheme was interesting. I thought it was because it's such bright colors in contrast to what's going on. I thought that was very interesting artistically from a cinematography and editing point of view. But the main actress was horrible. I mean, her acting is just terrible. Takes you right out of the movie. And I mean, the main guy wasn't that great either. I mean, the movie is just, I don't know. I just did not find it very good or scary in any way. But that's just me. And he says there's one scene where the whole theater screamed. Are you talking about? Wait Until Dark? You saw that in the theater. That's cool. You saw it in the theater in 1967? Your name is Annie Boat 99. I kind of just assumed you were born in 99. Or did you watch it in a theater that was playing it not in 67, but much more recently? And he says, no, I am old, but I think I first saw it on TV. Truth Trollette assumptions. I don't claim anything is true or untrue. I'm just saying a lot of people put that there. Clark says, in the Mouth of Madness, not many John Carpenter films. I was not impressed with Mouth of Madness. Serpent and the Rainbow was pretty creepy, though. Yes, Serpent and the Rainbow, pretty underrated. I don't remember when I saw that. Okay, that was definitely creepy. So that's Wes Craven. That might be one of Wes Craven's best movies. Man, just the vibe of Serpent and the Rainbow. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if you're native to Haiti, you don't find it scary. You probably wouldn't. But if you were like a young American, especially at the time, one of the things is this. I'll end out the podcast with this. I think now just the jaded nature of the world and just the over information on everything, it just makes everything less exciting, less scary, less everything. Because back before the internet was widespread and before you could literally look up videos of what's going on in every country at every second, just the mystery, the sheer unknown mystery of the world, I mean, it made everything better. It made horror movies scarier, like Serpent and the Rainbow. I mean, can you imagine being in that situation in that country at that time? It's creepy. I mean, even without all the occult stuff, it was so creepy. I might have to rewatch that. That was creepy stuff. Good call, Clark. All right. Well, thanks again, everybody, for joining us. If you want to help support the podcast, you can do it into our PayPal. Check the link in the description. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time.